Knicks and Bruises is back from his hiatus. My bad, guys. I know I took a week off, had some life things to deal with, but your blackest time. We back in the building. I got Josh here. Josh, welcome back, man. Salute. Thanks for
Salute,
joining.
Tony. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Glad. Thank you for having me.
So, I definitely did just get to catch the interview you guys did on Nothing But Knicks with Tony Martin,
Yep.
um, Emmanuel Quickley's high school coach. Um, so I guess we could start with that. You was there, you was in the building, you got to ask some questions. So what, what were your takeaways from it, and what'd you get?
Wow. Well, it's always a pleasure to hear from someone who, actually, coached the man, coached the player that we critique all the time. As fans, we have our opinions, and we often on MBK critique players and their strengths and their weaknesses. But I guess it's refreshing to hear from someone who knows Emmanuel quickly, who actually seen him grow, his maturation from high school to the NBA. So it was a great interview. We got some good questions in there. I know he was, breaking up a little bit, so we're gonna work on that video. But I think it was overall great interview, and I think a lot of Knicks fans pretty much got a lot of questions answered um, from someone who knows Emmanuel quickly.
Facts. Um, anything anything stood out to you from maybe the question you asked or a question Sim or Steph asked?
Well, the biggest thing that stood out for me is the fact that he pretty much not taught Emmanuel quickly his floater, but that's something that Emmanuel quickly practiced and is still practicing that floater. I know a lot of times we talk about that and we want him to do it a little bit less. And as well as shoot that long 3-point jump shot. But as Steph was saying, if you feel like you can make that shot, NBA players nowadays feel like they can make that shot. To us it's a bad shot, but to them it's not necessarily a bad shot. So as long as Emmanuel quickly continues to remain confident in his abilities, the sky's the limit for this kid, just like Coach was saying. So I can't wait, and I'm hoping it happens sooner rather than later.
I agree. As always, man, gotta salute to the Podfather Sim, nothing but Knicks. Salute to the Queen. Good. That was a great interview. I'm looking forward to him coming back and maybe me getting to pick his brain as well. Um, that was definitely nice. A few things that stood out. You know, one when he said the long floater as opposed to the short floater, which is another thing that I've heard a lot of people complain about. With the distance in which, at least that's what I took. Maybe that wasn't what he's saying. What he meant by it. So if you feel differently, by all means correct me. But I believe he said the long floater as opposed to the short floater. Um, and yeah, like I said, a lot of people are upset with that from him. Talk about why is he shooting floaters from the foul line and this and that. But did I hear that correctly in what he said?
Yeah, you heard that. That's exactly pretty much what he was getting at. He also mentioned with the floater, the long floater, it gives the bigs a chance to get up on the boards a little bit. Obviously, longer shots, that bounce is going to take a pretty much a longer bounce off of that. And also, what I don't think he mentioned the alley oop game, the vertical, stretching the floor vertically. Emmanuel Quickly's floater and his ability to, get the ball high in the air, that helps Mitchell Robinson, on alley oops and perhaps Jericho Sims in the future. So I think that's a very important part of his game, and it's important what the Knicks are going to do on offense.
Facts. Um, so I really wanted the queen on here for this because I was interested to hear her thoughts on it. Um, but I'm also interested to hear your thoughts on it because another thing that stood out to me, and again, this just could be the way my brain works or the way I was reading certain things, but Coach said at least two times, maybe three times, he emphasized, if Emmanuel's with the Knicks or wherever Emmanuel is playing, and I don't know if the Queen picked up on that, and that was why she made her comment. But as she was saying her comment, I was there laughing because I was thinking, somewhat of the same thing or along the same lines of, maybe, he might be gone in the sense that, the Knicks have been rumored to be still in the market for, big game hunting. And what she said was, she doesn't want to include him in the trade, or she's gonna hold on to him as long as she can in a potential trade for one of these big names. So I was interested to know what she, what her thoughts was. Did she get that read, and is that why she made that statement, or was it, am I bugging? Was I reading too deep into the conversation? So
No, I
your
think
thoughts?
no, listen, I mean, I totally agree with Queen Steph. Listen, it's a business. You know what I'm saying? That the NBA is all a business, and if we can get better players in here, again, no one's actively shopping Emmanuel Quickley or RJ Barrett for that matter. But the fact of the matter is, if there's a better player that's out there, superstar player potentially, and you have a chance to get him, I don't think any player on this roster outside of Julius Randle is untradeable, so to speak. And it's unfortunate that has to happen, but it's just the nature of the business. Of course, I want to keep Emmanuel Quickley. If RJ Barrett turns out to be an all-star, if Quickley turns out to be an all-star and a really, really important piece to this team, I don't want to get rid of that. I want that. And they're homegrown too. I don't want to just give these players away. But I'm just, keeping it real. I mean, that's just the reality of the situation. It's a business. There might come a time when the Knicks are going to have to make some moves. They said, a couple of days ago when Leon Rose spoke to the media that, they're still going to be aggressive for trades and stuff of that nature. Okay. And, you got to be able to give up something in order if you want to get something back. So that's the reality of the situation. I know people don't like hearing that, but it is what it is.
Excuse me. Shout out to the chat, DSJ. I see you. Alton Lee, I see you. Salute to you guys. Salute to the whole chat. All right, but specifically about, coach. Do you think I was reading too much into him saying that, or is it just him knowing it's a business, or do you think it may be already in the air?
I think it's a little bit of the latter. I think it's mostly the latter. I don't think he knows pretty much what's going on with the Knicks organization is thinking. But I think he was just talking from a general perspective, like what I'm saying, as far as it being a business. I don't think he has any ties to the Knicks organization or anything like that.
Well, no, he doesn't need the ties to the Knicks. He has the ties in Emmanuel. You know what I mean? That was at least the way my brain was picking it up. I honestly, now granted, it's a fact. It is a business. I wasn't even looking at it like it's a business until later on as I processed what my original thought was. Why does he keep saying, if he's on the Knicks or you know what I mean, like wherever he's playing or whoever gets, you know what I mean. So it kind of threw me for a loop as I was watching it. So I mean, I probably was reading a little bit too deep into it, but fresh on my mind, my original topic for today was going to be that comment by Leon Rose as far as still being aggressive, still, big game hunting, if you will. So, I mean, that being said, I think I'm gonna talk a little bit about that, and I know Josh, you're the guy, you know what I mean, more so because I agree with a lot of your points that you got a little bit of flack for as far as being
A
controversial.
little bit, a little bit.
Well, no, I'm saying I agreed a little bit. Like
Oh, okay.
there's things that I agree with, but I didn't necessarily voice them as a thought, outward thought. You know what I mean? Like certain guys that you was like, yo, we should go after this guy. I definitely agree with some of those thoughts. I just had that argument before, early in the MBK days, and I wasn't ready to take the heat like you take on all challenges. You know what I mean? Controversy topics that I mean. You can have that bag, man. That well, kudos to you.
It's a lot of
But
flack at this point, Tony. It's not a little bit of flack. It's a lot of flack. I mean, I got people, coming at, Josh, you're crazy. All you care about is the big names. You want to trade away RJ Barrett. You don't like him for some reason, which is all not true.
trust me, I've heard it. I've heard it, and like I've had a small portion of that directed towards me early on, so I kind of know what topics to maybe keep behind the scenes and some to say some to say live. But
I got you.
I've always agreed with you publicly when you made your statements. You know what I mean? Whether it be Westbrook before, you know what I mean, CP3, whomever. If I agree, I'm gonna voice it. I'm not gonna keep that quiet. So just to let you know, like I'll take some of them bullets with you if you lead in the charge. And then when I don't agree, I'm gonna let that be known as well. But
Absolutely. Yep.
all that being said, um, is it still the same fish, the same names out there that you think are potentially who we would be going for? In because I'm thinking this is near future. Um, so this season, who are some of those guys? Who are some of the guys you want to stay away from? John Wall, um, and what do you think the likelihood is? You know what? This is funny too. Full circle. I'm gonna shout out. Oh man, Knicks at Night podcast, because that was our debate topic that you gracefully beat me in. As far as, do you think the Knicks are gonna make a big move this year? So let's bring it back full circle, and it's not a debate, but what are your thoughts a year later?
I think it's absolutely possible the Knicks can make a trade. Obviously, it won't happen right now. It won't happen in the beginning of the season. It'll be something more like a trade deadline kind of deal. And that all depends on how the team is playing, right? If the team is kind of like, kind of a mid-tier, up and down kind of team, the front office might want to make a splash and go out and land someone in a trade, disgruntled superstar, so to speak. I do agree with you. I don't want to take on John Wall. I think he's way too injury prone, and he makes just way too much money. For that. And I know he's a former All-Star, but I just don't see the fit on the Knicks right now. But Ben Simmons, I'm a big fan of Ben Simmons. I'm a big fan of Karl-Anthony Towns. I don't think Ben Simmons is going to come to New York ultimately, because he has expressed that he wants to play in California. He has bought a mansion out in California apparently, and every time you see him on social media, he's out in California in the sunshine. And it's California. I love California. I lived there for 5 years. So again, I'm a big Ben Simmons fan. I know people may disagree with that, but the guy's a 3-time All-Star, all NBA player, all the defensive player. That's the reason why he got paid the money. I can definitely see him on this team helping us out on defense. Defense is a big question for me right now with this team. I know we had a really good defensive season last year, but this season we lost. We don't have Reggie Bullock there. And as much as people want to say Reggie Bullock is not that good on defense, he guarded the other team's best player. If RJ Barrett's not able to take up that mantle, who's going to be able to do that? On the wing in a league where you have a bunch of wings and guards and stuff like that. So I think that is a big question mark. So let's see how the Knicks play it out. If the Knicks are able to still keep up that same defensive intensity and production, we'll see where that takes us. But I like Ben Simmons. I like Karl-Anthony Towns.
Wait. Before let's stick on Ben Simmons real quick, and
Okay.
you know what I mean, because I think number one, I did read within the last couple of days, and I wish I remember who the source was, but it was a tweeted, it was a name, maybe Shams, that New York is on his list now, and I forget who the other team was in particular, but he definitely allegedly added New York to his to his list. And I'm willing to die on that hill with you, as far as I am intrigued by Ben Simmons. I don't think, I'm not gonna say the hate is unwarranted, but I do think it's excessive. I think a lot of people have gone to the extreme when speaking negative about him, and I have no problem if you're gonna speak negative about him, but if you include his positives, you know what I mean, acknowledge what he's great at, because there are things that he's great at. You know what I mean? Don't just focus on what he isn't. Interesting enough, we 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 had a guy who endured probably more hate for longer last year in Elfrid Payton. Um, Now, granted, I'm not comparing the two skill levels, but I am comparing the amount of negative rhetoric that was thrown towards him. All year for Payton, obviously since the end of the playoffs for Philadelphia with Ben. So I agree. I'm not sure if New York is the fit for him. I think it obviously would be a better fit than Payton, but the excessive hate and the blame, and I think New York fans are smart enough to acknowledge how good he really is, but
right, they just don't want to say it. They just don't want to say it. Tony, let me ask you a question, right? What if the Knicks were a top seed in the Eastern Conference, right? Top 3 seed in the Eastern Conference for 3 out of the last 4 years, right? And during the midst of that period, right, of the 3 out of the 4 years, the Knicks are a number 1 seed, right? And we get bounced out in the second round. Knicks fans would appreciate that. Look at last season. Last season, we got to the 4th seed, and we didn't even show up in the playoffs, and then the fans appreciated it. We lost by, 25 points at home in the clinching game after, they came out in the media and said what they said, or the Hawks, that is, and the fans carried the team off the court. Yet, it's a problem when you have a guy who's an all-NBA player, who's the second best player on a team that gets to the top seeds in the Eastern Conference 3 out of the last 4 years, and it's a problem because his team got bounced out for 2 years out of that 3 out of the 4 in a Game 7 in the second round. Think about that for a second. Think about that hypocrisy.
I get it, but it's funny. It's funny coming from you because everything you just said, you don't subscribe to personally.
What do you mean?
As far as we recently had the argument or debate of me being satisfied with us progressively advancing and maybe not winning the chip and working our way up, and you were opposed to that as far as that.
But here's the difference though, Tony. The difference is Philadelphia is a contender. With Ben Simmons on that team, Philadelphia is a contender. Getting to the second round and getting bounced out in a Game 7 means you're right there. You're one, bounce or here and there away from getting to the conference finals, right? There's a difference in that.
That was the argument I was kind of making with what I said at the time. Like, it's cool because we agree right now. So let's not make it a debate.
No, I just think there's a difference between that and a Knicks team who gets to the playoffs as a 4th seed, a favorite to win a series, and we get gentlemen swept. I think there's a big difference between that. You know what I'm saying? And adding a player like Ben Simmons, I think, gets you closer than not. There's no question about that. Now, does Ben Simmons need to be able to take more shots and trust his abilities a little bit more in the playoffs? Absolutely. Did he look a little bit rattled in that playoff series last season? Absolutely. And he definitely needs to play better. There's no question about it. But getting there, Ben Simmons can get you there. He can get you there. And it's just what happens when he gets there. That's what we gotta look at.
He kind of regressed. You know what I mean? Like, because Julius looked rattled. You know what I mean? But this was his first playoff series. Ben has been there before. And this is probably the worst he's looked in a playoff series. You know what I mean? Being there multiple times. I guess who's this? J. Rule. That's the main question there.
No, but Tone, so I can answer this. I can answer this question by simply saying no one on the Knicks roster outside of Julius Randle, to me, is untradeable. No one is untradeable. Like, I'm not stopping a trade. Obviously, I'm not saying give up the whole entire farm. I don't want to trade the whole team away to get Ben Simmons. But now the Knicks are in a position, not right now, so to speak, but probably mid-season when the contracts are, you can be able to do some more of the contracts. You can move a Fournier contract. You can move a Nerlens Noel contract. At that point, they're able to move some of those contracts to make the money work. So when someone asks, well, you want to give up the whole entire house, what is the whole entire house? You know what I mean? No one wants to answer that question. What is the house, right? But if Philadelphia is going to give you a break and you can be willing to let go of some players, like Emmanuel Quickley, for me, I like him, but he's not holding up a trade for Ben Simmons for me. Obi Toppin, no. You know what I mean? Mitchell Robinson, no. I'm not stopping a trade, if you include those players in there. RJ, I'll have to think about it a little bit. But again, Ben Simmons is a 3-time All-Star.
I think for the most part we agree, but I think you would give up RJ. I know you just said you gotta think about it, but I think
obviously you would want to hold on. You would want to hold on to RJ. He's a homegrown player with potential,
So if let me do this hypothetical and then we're gonna move on because I know these conversations get crazy, the chat start going crazy. But if we're including RJ, where does the buck stop, or does it stop there? Is it RJ and picks? And
First and foremost,
we're not doing RJ and Mitch, right? Obviously, we're not doing RJ and Quickley. Or are you? I'm not.
But Tone, here's the thing: you got to look at this in context, right? Not just in a vacuum. The money has to add up. The Knicks don't have the ability right now to take on extra salary, right? So the money has to add up. So for me, a player like Evan Fournier will be most likely included in that deal because he takes up most of that, and I think Philadelphia will want a player like that because he can be able to score. He can be able to play the 2-guard position, right? So you got to look at that. And then you can say Fournier, and then, maybe you can throw in some draft picks or whatever the case may be. Draft picks won't stop it from either. The Knicks have 15 draft picks, first rounders, in the next four seasons.
Yeah,
so the Knicks have draft capital. The Knicks have draft capital. It's not like we're trading away the future of the team. You know what I mean? There's a lot of young players on this roster. There's a lot of young players coming down the pipeline in the draft. So it's not like, we're giving up our entire future. You know what I'm saying? So I just think that we need to consider this a little bit more. I get it. Knicks fans want to hold on to, they don't want to repeat the same mistakes of the last 20 years. But I think there's a difference between going out and getting a player like Steve Francis or paying Jerome James money when we're talking about a 3-time All-Star who's an All-NBA defender who can be a bucket getter for you if you run an offense around him. Ben Simmons can do that. We've seen Ben Simmons in Philadelphia win 19 out of the last 20 games when Joel Embiid was hurt. You know what I'm saying? And he can lock down the opposing team's best player. I think Thibodeau would love Ben Simmons on this team. So, and I don't think it's going to happen, but I don't think we should look at it so one-sided as Knicks fans tend to do.
He's not your most likely. I'm gonna answer first. I think, but you would put him as your is he the highest on your list as far as like your personal list of who
No, it's Damian Lillard.
Okay.
It's Damian Lillard.
All right.
It's Damian Lillard 100%.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that in a second. Who's your most likely? And I think I'm gonna go first though, and I'm gonna say Zach LaVine. Because a few reasons. I think one of the few teams that Derrick Rose did speak to was Chicago. I do remember a point where the rumors was like he's going to Chicago, he's not coming back to New York, and that all of a sudden he was coming back. So I could see that interest still being there, and where Rose is included in the deal for LaVine. So that's my main reason why I think it's most likely is if he wants to go and they know he's going, and they're gonna move him. We have at least one player that we know has a history there. They have mutual interests. This past offseason, it's just almost like a no-brainer, if you will. We have the trade, the assets where we we probably don't even have to include the talent to match. We only have to make the money match, and we have the draft compensation to get it done. So that's why I think that's my most likely scenario. A trade for Levine, it would include Derrick Rose, and I only say that because of the rumored mutual interest between them this past offseason. There's certain places he's not gonna want to go. Chicago obviously is not one of those places. So and then we just got to make it work. Whatever, whether it's trade assets or I mean draft picks, or maybe one young up and coming player. But that's my most likely. Who's your most likely?
Honestly, I think the most likely is going to be Damian Lillard. I think he wants out of Portland. The salary cap is going to be going up in a few years, so I think we can afford to take on Damian Lillard's contract. And I think Damian Lillard and the Julius Randle pairing. And if we get a chance to keep RJ Barrett in the trade like that, I think that would be great for the Knicks. I think that takes the Knicks to the next level. And I think that is most likely happening because those rumors have been going around for a very, very long time. But one thing I do want to say is, people, are asking me in the chat, well, who would I want to give up? Who would I want to give up? Listen, I already came out with a proposed 3-team trade a while ago, back on the Queen's Court a while ago, with the salary cap when we did our cap breakdown, and we did what we wanted to see the Knicks do that particular season. So there's also 3-team trades that can happen where we can be able to get a third team involved if we don't want to include all of our assets in there. So again, there's so many multiple ways you can do this. And I know this is going to be very difficult for Knicks fans to hear, but at the same time, listen, if this team starts off slow, knock on wood, I don't want to see that happen. I think this stuff is going to be starting to come to the forefront, and you're going to hear a lot about it.
See, I'm not that I would be bad if we got Dame or traded for him, but at this point, he's pretty low on my list. And when I say low, I mean like maybe 3 or 4. Back to Levine. I think it's a better fit as far as getting a young guy in who, I mean, you could argue he's not a superstar. He hasn't been in the playoffs to become one. That's my retort. But star he is. You know what I mean? Without winning in the NBA, without a winning season or whatever, he's still a star.
Right.
But his youth, the fact that he fits that timeline of, and I think it was you. We had a little timeline debate, like what is the timeline? But I'm gonna break it down for you. Like for me personally, when I say fits the timeline, it's timeline of growth. So he still has room to improve, along with the guys that he would be joining. So these guys will be growing together, improving together, plateauing together as an organization, as a team. When you bring in a guy like Dame, granted, superstar already. You know what I mean? We know who he is, but that's part of why he's lower on my list, is because we know what it is. What is his room for growth? He's great already. Can he be greater? I don't know. I don't know if he can.
I can tell you. I can tell you why he will. Because he hasn't won a championship yet.
By when? I mean that's a given. He'll get more acknowledgement, but I doubt it'll be because he did something that he hasn't already done, or prove something that he hasn't already proven.
But Tone, what does that matter though? I don't understand why.
I'm not knocking it. I'm not looking at it. I'm telling you the difference and why I would want to go with the youth, and where the limit, there is no limit. Sky's the limit. You know what I mean? Like, because we don't know where his ceiling is. That's what I'm saying. Now, granted, he could plateau and not reach a Dame Lillard level, possible. But I think the chances, the potential is far greater. And we're talking about an athlete, which I think that's something we're sorely lacking. Our most athletic guys are probably bigs. You know what I mean? Probably Obi and Mitch. Um, we and I don't even know the last time the Knicks have really had an athletic wing. You know what I mean? That's something we've been lacking. Probably, you know what I mean. The entire time I
Carmelo,
watched the Knicks. I mean,
Carmelo, maybe.
I don't even know if you would consider him athletic. You know what I mean? When I say athletic, I mean like jumping out the gym. You know what I mean? Like he would dunk on somebody, but it would be because of surely because of strength. You know what I mean? Overpowering. It wasn't because he was jumping over him. You know what I mean?
I got you.
But the
I
fact
guess
that you know what I mean, and I mean that's just my argument between, or not even argument. That's why he's one on my list as far as most not most likely, but my number one choice. But he's also my most likely. It's funny, your most likely is also your number one choice as well.
Yeah, I mean, because I definitely see it happening. And for me, like, I understand what you're saying about, you want to see growth in a Knick uniform, like from player to player. Me, I want to see a championship. For me, that's what it comes down to. And I feel like by adding players who are already established, who already are superstars, gets you closer to a championship. That's just me. That's just the way I view it. And the current NBA, that's just how it is.
You know what it is too, though, and maybe maybe I can explain it a little better this way. If we go for a guy like Dame and it doesn't work, and it doesn't look like it's gonna work, then we're kind of stuck in that, like we were saying with the Philadelphia argument, or stuck in that contender but not contender. You know what I mean?
But Tone, but this is the argument.
Think about James Harden in Houston. Would they were a contender? Yes.
Yes.
But they were stuck. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but see, I don't look at it that way. I don't look at it them being stuck, because if you let's look at Philadelphia, for example, right? Mm-hmm. Philadelphia, like I said, 3 out of the last 4 years, they were a top seed in the Eastern Conference. A couple of those seasons, they got to, a semifinal, right? Where they were a game 7 or whatever the case may be, where they were like one missed shot or whatever the case may be from going to the next round and getting to the Eastern Conference Finals. No championship is guaranteed. None at all. Like, I don't care who you have on your team. Nothing is going to be guaranteed to you. The point is, Philadelphia put themselves in a position where they can be able to compete for one, right? They can compete for titles. And that's why Ben Simmons was signed long-term with Joel Embiid, because no matter what everyone says about Ben Simmons in the playoffs or Philly shortcoming and game 7s or whatever the case may be, they're right there. If you look at Milwaukee, the past few seasons before they won the title, Milwaukee right there, top seed in the conference, and, a couple bounces here and there, and they get to the next round. So again, so many things have to happen in order for you to win a championship. So many things. I'm not saying bringing in superstar players and bringing in all-star players guarantee you one, but if the Knicks are at least in a position where they can put themselves to be right there, a couple bounces here and there, a couple swings here and there, we'll find ourselves in the NBA Finals, and heck, we'll find ourselves winning the championship and having a parade. You know what I'm saying? So again, it's about putting us in a position where we can be able to compete for championships. And then, injuries can happen or whatever the case may be. And then, or players take the game to another level in those playoff series. And then, we can win a championship that way. So again, there's multiple ways to do this. And JR was saying, Josh, it's true, bro. It's true, but it would make us better. But, the Blazers are going to ask for a lot. So what? He's worth that. You give up what you can to get a player like that. I'm not saying give up everybody. But again, you're going to have to give up something to get something. Like, it's just simple math. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand what the obsession is to hold on to some of these players that pretty much we're talking about. What if it doesn't work out with Damian Lillard or a superstar? What if it doesn't work out with these guys? Well, what are we really holding on to? You know what I'm saying? And there's going to be guys coming down the road. So again, I'm looking at it from that standpoint. Again, I'm fine with what the Knicks doing right now, but at some point I want them to swing the bat, and I think that's what they're going to do.
Do you think Portland has been a contender these past 5 years or whatever?
No, I don't think Portland's been they've been up there. They've been competing in playoff games. But I think the Knicks are a little bit different. Portland did not play any type of defense. Zero defense. They were one of the worst defensive teams in the NBA during that entire stretch of time when Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum were there. The Knicks have a defensive foundation a little bit. They have another all-star in Julius Randle, and I think Damian Lillard can definitely add to that.
I'm sorry, I was reading the chats. See, that's the thing though. Defense is another. I mean, you're telling the truth about the Blazers as far as the defensive team, but you gotta put Dame in that list. You know what I mean? It's not like he was the lockdown guy and the rest of the team, and he had no defenders around him. He was part of the problem defensively.
No, that's not true.
And again,
No, I'm not saying Damian Lillard is an all-world defender. He's not that. Most superstars in the NBA don't play defense. Heck, LeBron doesn't play that good of a one-on-one defense. Most superstars don't play defense. I don't blame the Blazers' defensive problems on Damian Lillard. That's the last place I would look.
Let me take the word problem out of what I said, and say he was a part of the defensive deficiency. You know what I mean? It wasn't like he was on the plus side of the defensive plus minus or defensive, you know what I mean, numbers. Would you agree with that or no?
I mean, I just wouldn't look at it that way because, again, I think the defense is more of a team concept. They did not prioritize defense. They wanted to run up the court a little bit more, have Dame do a lot of isolation stuff, which was fine. He's good at that. And they just did not prioritize defense. They didn't have any really good defenders on that team. And it's more of a team thing. I think the Knicks team philosophy is to play defense, force teams to take longer jump shots. And I think if Damian Lillard can play in a system like that, where the coach kind of prioritizes defense a little bit, I think it'll be much better.
I guess this is no knock to Dame. I would not be opposed to bringing him on. He's just, like I said, probably third on my list. I think I'd take Levine first. Bradley Beal is my second choice. Who's your second choice? After Dame.
Bradley Beal.
Bradley Beal.
It would be Bradley Beal because then now you got a wing who is a bona fide bucket getter. Any way you can slice it, he's a bona fide bucket getter as a wing. And I think you got to have good guards and good wings to win in this league. So that'll be my second choice.
See, let me ask you this: what puts Beal above Levine for you personally?
I guess watching both of these guys over the years. I know Levine had his injury, so he didn't really ascend as fast as Bradley Beal did. But I've watched Bradley Beal in those early years with John Wall, and you could see something in Bradley Beal that was special. And basically he's been doing that. He's led the league in scoring before. You know what I'm saying? He's a scoring machine. And the fact that he plays on Washington, terrible organization, terrible team, and for all these years he's been really carrying the water there. So I feel like that's someone I would want, when the game is on the line. I would give the ball to Bradley Beal to go out and make a bucket for me rather than Zach LaVine. Not taking anything away from Zach, because Zach is a baller. He'll probably be my next guy on the list. But for me, Bradley Beal, to me, I would want the ball in his hands when the game is on the line, more than anybody else, with the exception of Dame.
Okay. Rather than me saying why LaVine is above Beal, for me, I'll tell you why Beal is above Dame. And one, like you said, you've seen his trajectory just keep going up and up. That's one thing I'm a super big fan of. That's one of the reasons I was high on Julius Randle coming in, like when we first signed him. That's one of the reasons why I liked D'Lo. You know what I mean? That's just one of those stats that, to me, if you look at a guy who, I don't care if it's 2 to 4 points improvement every year and 1 to 2 percentage points on field goal or 3-pointer. But as long as it's going up, you know what I mean. I think that's a good stat to determine where the player may end up, where he may peak at, and stay level for a few years, and things of that nature. Um, so that's the main reason why. And again, not saying Dame hasn't, but he's been doing it so long. You know what I mean? Like at some point it's gonna it's gonna dip. You know what I mean? It's gonna drop off. And we don't know when that is. Like you talking 10-year vet or
Yeah,
11-year vet.
10,
This
11
is,
years around that range. Yep.
you know what I mean? Like so we don't know if he plateaued already, if he is at that level, and then right after that is the dip. I don't want to be a part of the dip. Bill, we talking a guy who could probably score right there with Dame. You know what I mean? Right, the same amount of buckets. Like we've seen it. It's proven. It's not projected or potential. He's done it. Um, Improved ball handling. It's so much about him that I younger. You know what I mean? I would definitely put him above Dame right now. But Dame is probably my number 3.
Can I just make a comment real quick? So I want
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
respond to this comment right here from Arthur Beck. And he said, we just built this team up. Why are we even talking about adding someone right now? Can these guys play a regular season game first? Leon Rose said it. Leon Rose said the team is still looking to be aggressive. Like, if you guys are so naive to think that the Leon Rose and the front office is not thinking about making any type of moves, at least not right now, but probably down the road, you're delusional. Like, the Knicks at some point are going to swing the bat and they're going to make a move. Like, I understand that it's not what you guys want to hear, but in the front office, they thinking about this stuff, and we need to start thinking about this as well. Like, this team has currently constructed, it's not gonna be the team next year probably, or even the year after that. A lot of these guys are gonna get moved. You know, it's a business. This stuff is going to happen. I'm not lobbying for it to happen right now. I'm not lobbying for it to happen yesterday. What I'm saying is it's gonna happen at some point, and we need to open our eyes and realize that, you know, the NBA is a business. You can't just fall in love with these players and think Emmanuel Quickley, Mitchell Robinson, and RJ Barrett's going to be here for 20 years. I mean, it could happen, yes, but that's not the reality of the business. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just not going to be that way.
And that is why we're talking about.
That's exactly why we're talking about it.
Potential trades.
Right.
Oh, I don't know. I ignore a lot of comments. You know that are questioning or you know, if you don't like what we're talking about, don't listen.
Shout out to the chat though, man. I appreciate the comments
and if you like it, hit that like button.
Yeah, you know, I appreciate it, but you know, I just feel like, you know, sometimes people are really, really naive, and they think that, you know, these Knicks are going to be here forever. You know, like we're going to be, you know, and I get it. I want to see a San Antonio Spurs organization dynasty where they got guys who they drafted and they played and did all of that. But the San Antonio Spurs are a once in a lifetime,
rarity.
super, super rarity type of organization. Like, and we're talking about New York here. Like, if one of these players has like a bad game or a bad stretch of games or a bad season, Knicks fans will be coming at their throats. You know what I mean? It ain't just the media that spins narratives; it's the fans too. So, you know, I'm just trying to be realistic. And listen, Leon Rose said this a couple of days ago. This is not me and Tone, you know, just making up these narratives. Leon Rose said it out of his own mouth a few days ago. They're looking to be aggressive, and by being aggressive, there's going to be some trades out there, and some players are going to go. Like, I mean, that's just the reality of it.
And this is, I mean, I don't know when the gentleman you know, tuned in, but you know, this is why I say, you know, most likely. This is why I said who's who's on your list. You know what I mean? This is all personal to us. And if anybody ever joins the show, joins the chat, joins the panel. I mean, I always say my shows is really about my guests. You know what I mean? So I'm intrigued about different point of views and why people think what they think. You know, sometimes we agree, so a lot of times we don't agree. Like there's a lot of things me and Josh don't agree on. You know what I mean? And there's a lot that we do agree on. But I like to have those conversations. So you know that's why we're doing it. Do you want to go? Do you want to go into a fourth guy, or you want to get into this I mean, neither one of us seen Media Day. We're gonna watch it later on Queen's Court. So make sure you guys tune in to Queen's Court tonight. We're gonna cover all the Media Day stuff. Um, but yeah, did you have a fourth guy or
Well,
anything else that
yeah. I mean, listen. I think we can go on and on about these lists. I think the Knicks they're gonna bring in somebody, and I'm excited about that. Obviously, it has to be a good fit. I'm not, just in love with the big names. I think that they're big names for a reason. They're all stars for a reason. And there's some talent that needs to be added to this team. There's no question about it. The Knicks aren't a perfect product yet. So there's still some things that we have to figure out. I would like to see this team grow. I think that's what's going to happen because the Knicks are unable to move a lot of the contracts that they just signed. So we have no choice but to watch the team grow before we make these moves. Nothing else drastic is going to happen in the beginning of this season. Everything is going to happen either at the trade deadline or in the offseason for next year. So, we can go on and on about these lists, but I'm really excited about Media Day and training camp starting and all that stuff. So that should be fun.
So Fudge Nice says Cat and Zion are the only targets. Nobody's getting Dame. We could touch on Zion in a second. I know you had mentioned Towns as well. What's your thoughts on Towns? I mean Minnesota's a little messy right now. I know he's shown some displeasure. He is a New York guy. What's your thoughts on Towns?
I think Karl-Anthony Towns would be a really good fit for this team. He's a two-time All-Star. Definitely worth his max contract that he got in Minnesota. I think people automatically think just because a player is not, his team isn't doing that well in a different organization, that automatically that team or that type of team is going to be how the Knicks perform. I don't think that's the case at all. I think Towns is a guy who can stretch the floor, definitely shoot the ball from three. He's a bucket on the inside. He's probably, him. Imagine the battles between him and Joel Embiid. They already got a rivalry as it is. But imagine we had someone like that patrolling the paint, going bang for bang with Joel Embiid. You know what I'm saying? Or in fact, going up against the other centers, the smaller centers in the Eastern Conference. Like, I think that's a win for us. That's a battle that we can definitely win. And listen, I like Mitchell Robinson. I would want to keep Mitchell Robinson around, but I think the writing was on the wall for him when the Knicks signed the world to that contract. To be honest with you, I think the writing was on the wall for him, a long time ago. Mitchell Robinson is still raw. I like the strides that he's done defensively, not getting in foul trouble. I think that's a good sign. I like the fact that he can stretch the floor vertically, but he is limited offensively, and he needs to work on his defensive rebounding a little bit more. So he's very, very raw. Towns is a guy who can go out and get you 25 and 15. You know what I'm saying? He can go out and get you that every single night. Yeah. So if there's an opportunity to swing a trade for a guy like that, I think he can fit well with Julius Randle. Julius Randle's now more of a perimeter player. But in the cases where Julius Randle wants to get in the paint, Karl-Anthony Towns can step out and knock down some three-point shots for you. Okay,
you know what he makes?
Around 35. He getting that same in between $35 million a year, which he's worth. Absolutely. Two-time All-Star. He's going to get that money. So listen, I'm all for bringing Karl-Anthony Towns in here. Obviously, the trade pieces have to be right with Minnesota, but I'm all for that. If we can get it done, let's do it.
Yeah, I like him too, but I'm gonna be stingy. You know what I mean? Like there's definitely guys that's on my restricted list that I'm not giving up for Towns. That I would want to play with them. But I might even modify my list and I might even put him above Dame, man. And again, it's no knock against Dame, but it goes back to how much I value where they are, how they've grown, and that trajectory that still goes up. You know what I mean? I don't want to knock. I don't want to jinx them as far as Dame or jinx us if we get them, but I rather guys that can still move up in their careers and reach higher levels, than a guy that I think we very well possibly could have seen the best performances out of Dame Lillard. You know what I mean? And great performances, all-time great performances, but we might not see that again. You don't, you know what I mean? You don't know. Same thing you could argue. These other guys may not get better. So, there's an argument on both sides, but I rather go with youth and potential growth and we could get one of these younger guys in. We could still get that fifth, fourth seed, upset a team. You know what I mean? And still have room to grow. And it's not like, oh, is this where we're gonna be? Second round every year. You know what I mean? Like, I'm willing to take the lumps, but I don't want to take the lumps with a 10, 15-year vet, 10, 12-year vet. You know what I mean? I'd rather take the lumps with the younger guys. So that's learning experience. You know what I mean? That builds character, that builds strength. So yeah, I think I might even put Towns as third and Dame as fourth. Um and as far as Zion, um I'm he's fifth if we're gonna include Zion. And that's just because it's too many question marks as far as like where does that leave Randle? You know what I mean? We just signed him to an extension. Um, is Zion gonna be better than Randle? We don't know that. You know what I mean? Like, granted, he's a beast right now
Yeah.
at pure talent or yeah, pure like natural ability.
Charles Barkley 2.0 beast. Zion Williamson is a monster.
But how well I don't know what his trajectory is as far as, is he going to be a team guy or the go-to guy? Is he going to play within the offense? Is he a system guy? You know what I mean? It's like at this particular point, if we drafted him, I would have loved him, but I don't know if I would trade for him. You know what I mean?
Tone, let me ask you a question. You say you don't know if he's going to be a team guy or the go-to guy. What do you mean by that?
Is he going to play within the team system? And when I say him play, what's better for him? Is it better for him to be the go-to guy and have the system designed for him? Or is he a guy that's better playing within the system and just using his natural ability or you know what I mean? I like that. That's what I'm not sure of. Like, we've seen Randle have the ball go through him, and he's a team guy. You know what I mean? Like, but he's running the show. I don't think a lot of us knew he was even capable of that. You know what I mean? Like, even with me being higher him coming in to signing him, that's not something that I saw from him before. I just like the fact that he always got better. Like, he was a hard worker. You know what I mean? I like that about him. I didn't know he could be this good.
Right. I got you. I don't see the fit on the Knicks if Zion Williamson decides to if the Knicks decide to make that move. I don't see the fit next to Julius Randle. What up, Queen?
Hey. Sorry about that.
You
no
good,
problem.
you good.
I personally don't see the fit next to Julius Randle. I think it would have to be a situation where, Julius Randle's not going to be here long term, but we already know he is. So I don't see Zion to the Knicks happening at all. I like Zion Williamson's game. I know we spoke about this last season, at detail. I like Zion Williamson's game a lot. And if the Knicks were on the fence between choosing between Julius Randle and Zion Williamson, that would be a really, really tough decision for me. But them guys playing together, I don't see it happening. And with the Knicks already locking up Julius Randle long term, I just don't think it's a fit.
I hear you. Queen, welcome.
Tony, long time.
Yeah,
Josh.
I missed the week. I missed the full week.
Josh, I'm actually. Go ahead, Tony.
No, I was just saying I had life issues, so I had to deal with.
He got life issues.
Well, I mean,
hey,
I got a daughter. My car broke down. You know what I mean?
Right.
Job making me work on my day off. So
it's
a whole
all
bunch
good.
of things.
It's all good.
What were you gonna say to Josh? And then I
I'm
just got a quick rundown for you.
I was interested in why he liked Zion better than Randle or as much as Randle. And I guess for me, I see Zion and I see his ability to score. I see his otherworldly athleticism given his body type. Like, you wouldn't expect someone to be able to do what he does. He's a really good rebounder. He can handle the ball. But he's somebody, in my opinion, who can't shoot up to this point. He may, develop more of that. Or if he can shoot, he wasn't shooting And I just see him as more of a, at this point, somebody who kind of gets most of his baskets off of his athleticism around the basket. Um, but not to take away from his ball handling skills and his ability to get other people involved. But so I'm just interested in what do you see, and a lot of other people see, because you're not the only one that's high on him, that would like him just as much, or if not more, than Randle.
So for me, the shooting thing, I get that, people like to, harp on the shooting thing a lot. Like, you got to be able to shoot in this league. To me, I don't think you need to be able to be a great shooter or a good shooter in this league. Particularly if you
Wow.
do the things that Zion Williamson does on offense, as far as his ability to stretch the floor vertically. He's still able to score 25, 26 points per game without a jump shot. So he's still able to get his shot off whenever he needs to and score whenever he needs to. So for me, again, I think he does so many other things well. Obviously, the Knicks are going to have to get some guards who are able to shoot to play around him. I think there's no question about that. I don't feel like Zion Williamson is an isolation kind of basketball player, but at the same time, at his age and his athleticism, doing what he's doing, I see so much potential for that kid down the road. And that's why he got drafted so high. Everyone else seen it as well. So that's the reason why I like him just as much as Randle. And if the Knicks didn't sign Randle to that long-term contract, I think there would be more people talking about Zion in New York.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't like him like that. I just think that he's somebody that if he doesn't stretch his game in the playoffs, it's going to be really hard to be successful playing underneath at his size, without his ability to kind of come out and stretch the floor, have a more diverse offensive game. Julius Randle has a more diverse offensive game, and look what happened to him. And I just think that it may bode well for him to diversify his offensive game, because if he ever loses his offensive, a lot of his offense is built on his athleticism. But I don't. For me, it's not close, and I'm not. And Randle has a lot of work to do too. Like you already know how I feel about having to see Randle in the playoffs. But I was just interested because you're not the only one.
There's a quick retort to that.
Yes.
Zion Williamson's only 21 years old. There's so much
Yeah.
room for growth
Yeah.
there. It
Yeah.
took Julius Randle a long time to learn a lot of the stuff that he's doing now. So this stuff takes time. And, even at 25 years old, I know we argue all the time about Ben Simmons, and we're not even going to revisit that again. I still think Ben Simmons is very young. He has a lot of basketball left to be played in his career. We've seen Giannis Antetokounmpo, he was able to develop, shooting the basketball a little bit more, so much so that he scored 50 in a Game 7 of NBA Finals, and he shot, what was that ridiculous free throw, whatever, from the free throw line?
17 for 19 or 15 for 70 or something like that.
With the fans booing him and counting him down and all that throughout the entire playoff. So it's just a growth that needs to happen. I think we all can acknowledge that. I definitely acknowledge that myself. And I think, his upside is there, and he's younger, and he's doing a lot of other stuff without the shooting right now. 26 points per game, whatever the case may be. So I can see so much potential there, but Randle's ours, and we're not, he's very locked up.
Cantor said Zion is Julius Randle with hops, and I'm gonna say Zion. I'm gonna say Randle is Zion with a jump shot, with a nice jump shot.
I don't know about that.
So, but here's the thing. I'm not swapping those two out. You know what I mean? I'm high on potential and young guys and this, but no, Randle has shown and proved too much to me already for me to try to make that swap. And I think it's a lateral move. Like I don't know if that makes us better. But two of the things in Randall's defense is, he missed his rookie year, pretty much. Broke his leg first game of the rookie year, and he's only had that. Like the Knicks is his opportunity of being a go-to guy, a featured guy. So I think when you're featured coming into your rookie year, most of the times, you're I'm not gonna say the numbers are inflated, but you have the opportunity to put up those numbers.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like Randle came in as a rookie and had to fall in line. He had to, you know what I mean, earn his way. Um, it was given to Zion, and I mean that with all due respect. You know what I mean? Like that was deserved from who he was coming in. You know what I mean? But that opportunity plays a big part in who you become. You can't show who you are if your time is limited, if your
Hmm.
leash is short, things of that nature. I wanted to give you a quick rundown because I missed you early, but I did catch I caught you on MBK, and one of the things that stood out, for me personally, with Coach Martin, he kept saying, you know, if he's playing for the Knicks or
Yeah.
whoever he's playing for. So, and then I heard you say like, yo, I don't know about y'all, but I'm trying to hold on to quickly. So did you pick up on that when he was saying that? And did it strike you? Like, is that what made you
Yeah.
make your comment as far as you want to
Oh,
hold
no, no,
on to
no, that
quickly?
wasn't it.
Or okay,
I picked up on it, but I just thought he just meant that that's
because it's
just the way the
the
NBA
business.
goes, that people
Okay.
don't, tend to stay with the team they're drafted with. I
Hmm.
wasn't thinking that maybe he has some inside knowledge.
Right.
All right. It's just me. It's just the way I think because I asked Josh the same thing. I'm like, yo, I gotta ask. I need the Queen's opinion as well because I'm like, because he said it like two or three
He
times.
did. He did. He did.
You
In
know what I mean?
hindsight, he did. He did say it a lot.
And I'm like, hold up, man. He's a dick. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
but Josh is like, nah, it's the NBA business. You know what I mean? He knows things can happen
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
things of that nature. So that was the first topic. Shout out to Sim. We just gave out our Well, what was your takeaway of the interview as a whole? You was
Yeah,
there,
I
so
liked it. That was the first time being a part of an interview like that. I really liked it. I liked the flow. I mean, obviously with the technical difficulties, it didn't flow that well. But in terms of between Sim, Josh, and myself, I kind of like that. Um, and he gave us some great information. Actually, so yeah, it was a good interview.
yeah,
Yep.
I enjoyed it as well. Matter of fact, chat, and I'm gonna say this on Sim's channel. I'm gonna say this on Josh. I'm gonna say you guys need to keep hitting Evan Fournier up and get him on MBK so we could get this whole MBK fan panel to interview Evan
That'd be dope.
Fournier.
That would be
I think
dope.
Yeah,
that'll be dope. You
for
know what I mean? Get
sure.
all the different content creators up there,
Yeah,
and we all get a question or two. You know what I mean?
right.
But it's up to you guys to hit him up. You know what I mean? Bug him on Twitter. Make sure he's like, all right, let me do this so they can stop bothering me. Um, um, what else? Second topic was Leon Rose. He had came out and said, they were still going to be aggressive and trying to improve the team, trade, making trades or whatever the case.
Hmm.
So you know, I asked Josh to give me a list of his top 3 to 4 guys that you would go after, and then your top 4 of most likely can't like most likely. Our first our number one choice in both those topics happen to be the same person for ourselves. So like he had who was your number one? Dame Lillard was
Hmm.
his number one option and his number one most likely.
Hmm.
Mine was Zach Levine as most likely and my number one option. So if however you want to give your list, I know it's spur
Ooh,
of the
that's
moment.
yeah, yeah. That's a. I would pick Dame if it wasn't for his age, and just kind of how long it's gonna take to build a team around him. Dame would definitely be my first choice. This guy is just he's
Different.
just dynamic. He's
He's
just
different.
yeah, he's different. He's
Yeah.
dynamic, and the spotlight definitely would not be too big for him. I just wonder would the Knicks be able to build a team around him good enough to win in 2 or 3 years? You know, um, but that would be my guy. That's a tough question. Wow.
That's what we do
I
on
like.
the Knicks and Bruises. We ask the
I
tough
know. I
questions.
know. I know. I know. I like Cat too. I like Cat too. I think our defense would take a little hit overall, but we can work that out when you get a player of that caliber. You just can't be like, oh, he's not a fit. You got to make it. You make it work, and you build around them. Wow. Levine, I feel like he's not playoff tested. He's really good. He's not playoff tested. He, I think it would take some time. Like he's never been on a winning team. It would take some time. It
Mhm.
may. It may
Mhm.
not, but it may take some time. Um, I think I want somebody that once they on the team, we just significantly better. So I would just go. I would go with Dame at this point. I don't really, unless there's some other options. I guess I would go for Dame, but we'd have to scorch earth to make it happen within like within like 3 years. We have to be aggressive, and we're gonna have to take some chances, basically.
See, I mean, you and Josh basically are making the same exact point, and the reason I fray away from him, the reason I actually put Dame as what 4, he ended up being 4 because I put Cat above him. Um, is because like you said, the risk, his age, um, how long he's been great.
Yeah.
That runs out. There is an expiration date on your peak.
Right.
I don't know how close he is to that. You know what I mean? I can't speculate. But there is a chance that we've seen the greatest performances from Dame already. You know what I mean? Now, granted, that's not a not. He's been that great. Like he's been all time great. How long can he sustain that?
That's the issue. I think he's at least 2. I think more. I think more, but at least 2 more years. But maybe even I think even more than that. But the next 2 years, I don't think there's any question he's gonna be at the same level. And the thing about Dame, my issue is not even with Dame. My issue is with the front office because my issue is that if you bring him in, you got to move. You can't be sitting on these guys, sitting on an Obi Toppin, sitting on a Quickley, even sitting on an RJ. You gotta now. You saying we putting all our chips to the middle of the table
Mm-hmm.
and we doing this in the next 3 years. And now you can't be talking about, oh well, Obi might become something 6 years. It's a wrap. Once you do that, you basically said what the next 2, 3 years is going to look like. And the reason why it's a risk is because you have to be so aggressive, you're going to have to give up really good young players with potential. And so now if it doesn't work out, you're in the cupboard could be bare depending on how aggressive you went out to get other
Mm-hmm.
players. But if the Knicks did that, that would be very
Mm.
exciting if they went that way. I think Cat doesn't he makes us better for sure, and he gives us a longer window, but we're not there. Dame, you boom, there. I think Bill. I'm not sure how much. Not Bill. I love Bill. Um, Levine. I'm not sure. We'll get better, but again, he still has to grow as
Mm-hmm.
well. Bill, you already know how I feel about him.
So
You
Bill's
know,
your 2 or your 3?
my 2
Okay,
probably would
I
be
think
after.
that was the
Yeah,
consensus.
after Dame, I think it would be Bill, and I know the chat would get very upset with this, but I've said this multiple times on my show. I'm not averse to giving up RJ for Bill. I think that Bill is still in his prime, and Bill is who we hope RJ will become, right? An all-star, perennial all-star player, perennial all NBA player, somebody who, can get a bucket if you need, to get a bucket, as Josh would say. Um, people say, oh, they think RJ is going to be better. RJ would have to be like to be better than Beal. I mean, like that's saying something. So for me, if I'd rather go for what is, especially if the person is really good, over what's behind door number 3, because you don't know what's behind door number 3. And a lot of people who say, well, he's ascended it's only been 2 years. Players level off all the time. After they get better, they level off all the time. And I think I would feel more encouraged about RJ, a little more encouraged about RJ, if he had the mentality of a Quickley. If he had a mentality of a Quickley just gonna get his. Like he not worrying about the offense. He's not deferring to anybody. He's gonna come up. He's gonna pull up from the 4-point line early in the clock because he feel like he can make that shot, and we need that shot in the moment.
And that's for me. That was the big thing about RJ last season that I wanted to see more of. Like late in games, like it was always deferring to Julius Randle, and I get it. It may have been Tim say, growing up a play for Julius being an alpha dog, and Julius saying, okay, this is my time. But RJ, for me, I want to see RJ take that step where, give him the ball and let him just go to work. You know what I mean? And that's the part for me that I want to see RJ. If he gets to that level, then
it's a different story.
Then it's different.
And Alton Lee, I agree with you. That's the only thing that's giving me pause. Like, so say RJ takes a significant leap this year, then that changes everything. So now I'm like, do I want to pay 35, 38 million for Beal when RJ became an all-star this year, and we're going to have to extend him, and maybe that's what, 20, 22, 23, whatever that is. He looks like he's on that track, and we're going to save $10 million. So once you throw the money in there, okay, it may give me pause a little bit, but it's only going to pause me if you're making a significant leap. No pause right now.
If RJ Barrett becomes an all-star / all-NBA player, whatever the case may be, within the next 2 seasons, he's going to be worth 30. He's going to be worth 30 because that's in the CBA. That's in the CBA. He has to get that max contract, and the Knicks are going to want to pay him that money.
Right. So. And then I'm okay with not going after Beal in a situation like that. I'm totally okay with that.
Yep.
So the consensus between the three of us was definitely Beal as second on the list. You and Josh agreed at Dame as first. I actually had Cat as third.
I like Cat.
Who'd you have as third? Cat as well?
I would take Cat over Levine.
Yeah.
See,
I would too.
So that drops Levine to fourth for both of you guys.
Right.
And
can I say something, Mr. Andrew? It's not about RJ can score 23. Like, it's not. Listen, I'm high on RJ too. But again, we got to think about the window the Knicks are trying to win in. If you can get somebody that's going to accelerate that window, you have to look at it, right? But RJ can score 23. All right, Bill is scoring 33. You know what I mean? And he's somebody that's been a number one that down the stretch, even with the entire team keying on him, he can still drop 40. Now, RJ may be able to do that as well. We just don't know because he hasn't been in that position. I just think that nobody on the Knicks is untouchable. I think if a trade comes across the Knicks desk, they have to sit down like any other organization does, and they have to pro and con it. I don't think you can just say automatically no to any trade that comes across the desk. I think you have to assess it. Evaluate.
And that's exactly what they're doing, and that's the reason why we're talking about this. Because a couple of days ago, Leon Rose said that the team is still looking to be aggressive in the trade market, and they're going to be looking at players. So I get it. Fans don't want RJ to go. We are not actively putting RJ out there.
No.
There's this narrative. There's this narrative that Josh, you hate RJ Barrett. You hate him. I do not hate RJ Barrett. I love RJ Barrett. I love his game. I like where he's going. But again, this stuff can happen at the drop of a pin. This stuff can happen, and we got to prepare ourselves for that. You know what I mean? So that's the reason why we're talking about
it. You and Josh. I mean, I feel like I missed the weekend. You guys are like the synergy. The synergy is crazy. Like,
that's my nephew.
Am I bugging? So the reason I have Levine so high, just to reiterate it, I'm gonna try to switch it up a little bit so I'm not repeating myself. But one of the reasons why I have him so high is I think he's going to be the cheapest guy to get. cost us the least of assets. You know what I mean? Like at that point, I don't think we're talking about RJ Barrett at all in the trade. You know what I mean? I think we're
Mhm.
talking about somebody who can play with RJ and compete at a high level. Um, and that's one of the reasons I think it's likely. I will repeat myself as far as this. In the off season, we did hear that Derrick Rose was in talks with Chicago. At one point I heard that it was like considered likely that was his destination. So I wouldn't be surprised if something was talked about as if we're gonna move you, it would only be to, what I mean, one of those teams of your destination. So I think that's already one guy that had mutual interest with Chicago
Mhm.
in Rose, and what I mean, that's one guy that we know can be included. And I love Rose. I'm not same thing with RJ. We're not talking about
Listen, we talking,
actively trading.
fam. Everybody getting so, it's just a conversation. Be easy. It's just a
So,
conversation.
but I think that's why that makes it a little bit more likely. And like I said, I just think he will cost the least. Um, and then the room for growth. This is one of those arguments me and Josh had in the past about what is growth. Um, but it's based off what you said, like getting a Dame Lillard, it accelerates everything. You know what I mean?
Really
To the
does.
point where there's no time to waste. There's no opportunity to waste. There's no wait, like you said, waiting on growth of anybody. It's no
Yeah.
growth time. It's
Yeah.
we
No doubt.
we, we win now.
Yeah.
Um, I like the idea of us bringing in another young guy, super potential, um, already good or great at certain things. Um, the trajectory still being up, but us being able to take some lumps. You know what I mean? And and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and, and
Yeah.
and it not be detrimental. Like the growth is still gonna be there. You,
Right.
you know what I mean? So that's when I say fits the timeline and fits the growth. Like that's what I'm saying when I say that.
No, I agree.
It's scary thinking about getting a Dame Lillard because I
Yeah.
don't know how long he's gonna stay at that peak level. He's been doing it for so long. You know what I mean? And it's part of that PTSD that everybody talks about. We
Yeah.
get we
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
guys. We get it's a scary thought for me, to be
Yeah.
honest. He's on
Let
my
me ask
list.
y'all a question though. Do you think, and I agree with you, I would prefer a longer window to be able to take some lumps. When we talk about Bill, does Bill make the Knicks that much better? Maybe not Dame better, but is he close to that? Because with his age, he does give us a longer window.
Longer window. That's why
Is
he's two.
he is he is he that type of player? Like when I see Dame, you be like, yo, if he, this guy is that type of player. When you see Bill, does he elevate the Knicks like that or close to that?
For me,
In my mind, in
absolutely,
my yeah,
absolutely.
yep.
Scoring machine, can score in any kind of way. Absolute
No
scoring
doubt.
machine and a beast.
And one of those guys, just like Dame, if you get him mad on the court, it's a wrap. You know what I mean? Like that's one of my gauges of that. You know what I
Right,
mean? Like
right, right, right,
certain
right,
certain guys, you could get mad and get them out their game. Like we
right,
might win this. We might win this game. He's mad. Dame, um, Bill, they're not one of those guys that you're gonna be like,
right,
oh, he's mad. We got a chance now. It's gonna be
right,
like, oh, like who pissed him off? You know what I mean?
right,
Like,
right, right,
and sometimes it don't even be us. It be the
right,
ref. Be like, oh, come
right,
on, man, just give him the foul that time. Like now,
right,
now he about to drop
right, right,
15
right,
points in 10 minutes. You know what I mean?
right,
Like,
right, right. Is Cat that type of guy, or do you think he needs a little more seasoning, a little more growth?
I think Cat can be that guy, but I would rather a guard or a wing. Someone's gonna have the ball in his hands for the most part. That's why I have him lower down in the list. I think if you do get someone like Cat, you got to bring in another guard with him.
but
You have to.
you have him over Levine. Both of you have him over Levine.
Only Levine
So
for me is. Go ahead, Josh.
I mean, I guess you can, I can switch him around if that's the case. But I don't know, something about Levine. I just,
Yeah, Levine has the talent, has the skill. For me, it's just about the experience. Like I'm looking for somebody that's gonna elevate the Knicks now because they have that experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I would even put, if he becomes available, I probably would put Donovan Mitchell over Levine too. He's somebody who's been in the playoffs as well. Um, I mean, I can't say he's performed lights out in the playoffs, but he has some really, really good games in the
Oh,
playoffs, and he understands the intensity and what it's about.
he was lights out in the bubble.
Yeah, he was. I forgot about him. Yeah, I like
Yeah,
Donovan Mitchell as well.
I put him above Levine mainly because of that. Like it's already
Right.
been proven. But you know what I mean? I'm one of those guys that continues to, like Levine is a star. He just has to do what he's done regularly in the playoffs to
Right.
become a superstar.
Right.
Point blank.
Right.
Point blank.
And there's
Period.
nothing that says he can't because he just hasn't had the opportunity.
Yeah. And like think about what Julius Randle has went through, right? First year, all the controversy, all the hate, everybody trade.
Yep.
Came back, proves itself
Right.
all the way up into the playoffs, and kind of had that same type of thing that he dealt with, you know what I mean, the first year.
Mhm.
We bring in a guy like Dame, there is none of that. There's no learning curve. There's no,
Right.
there's
No.
no, we'll get him next year.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's none of that. Like that's the reason why I like Levine, because granted he hasn't proven it,
Right.
but bringing a guy like that in with Julius Randle's now experience, you know what I mean? Like, so I'm expecting Randle to improve in the playoffs the same way he improved last year
Right.
during the
Right.
regular season. You know
Right.
what I mean? It's same with RJ. I'm expecting him to have better performance in the play. So we'll not that I'm looking forward, but we'll be okay with Levine having a learning curve if this is his first playoff experience.
Because we have a longer window.
Join it. Yes, absolutely.
Gotcha.
And we
Gotcha.
may still win with
Right.
him struggling. So his learning
Right.
curve may
Right.
be a first round series that we won, but he didn't necessarily contribute. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like
No.
so
I agree.
that's
Now,
why I think of things like that.
are we talking about giving up RJ for Levine, or are we trying to get RJ to play with Levine?
I don't think we have to.
Okay.
Ultimately,
In this current situation, I think we have the draft assets to appease
Right.
Chicago again with a guy like Rose, hometown guy. Like that's gonna bring fans home anyway. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like not so he doesn't have to be there and be the savior. And with their recent additions, like the subtraction of Levine, not saying they can still be a decent enough team, I think, where they, or at least sell it to their market as still a decent enough team. Bringing the hometown guy back, we got DeRozan, we got some veterans. You know what I mean? Like we're not necessarily rebuilding because we
Right.
got rid of Levine. We got rid of Levine because he was
Right.
gonna be gone anyway.
Right.
And,
I was about to
and
say we don't even have to. He's gonna be He's gonna be a unrestricted.
but,
But if they're not gonna sign him, you're right. They're gonna want to
yeah,
at least try to trade him.
and we would need to trade because we don't have the all our money's locked up now.
Oh, I
ultimately,
see.
So
To sign him in free
that's
agency. Gotcha.
so that's what I'm saying. We could sign him, and it's just like those signing trades. You know what I mean? Like we was gonna
Yeah.
lose this guy anyway. Let's get
Right.
a couple draft picks and do something. So now we got something. You know what I mean? So, but we would have to jump on that like during the season.
yeah. I mean, for me, ultimately, you want to have a player like Levine or Bill or whoever you go out and get and play. You know, you want someone like that to play with RJ. You want to keep RJ around
Right.
for the future. But if the deal's on the table and RJ's there, I mean, I'm not stopping the trade just because RJ's in it. I mean, that's just my opinion. I'm not stopping the trade
mean,
for a superstar like that.
If RJ's going, there's no draft compensation. 100%.
What do you mean?
I'm
Right.
not giving up
It's
first
just-
round picks.
Well, RJ, well, again, the money has to match. RJ Barrett only makes $10 million right now. Now, if you want to sign RJ to an extension and then try to move him that way, to try to make the money match up, fine, no problem. You do a 1-for-1 swap or like the least amount of assets possible. But right now, RJ Barrett only makes $10 million. These guys are making 30. So,
I mean, we can add players into the matches, but I'm saying no draft picks, no first round.
I mean,
picks.
I'm again,
especially
draft
if a guy that is going that's in his last year. You know
I'm talking about if we're going to keep the guy long term. So I'm assuming the Bulls will have to do a sign and trade, that kind of thing, and have him an extension on the table, whatever the case may be.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is draft picks to me aren't holding up either. The Knicks got an abundance in the next 4 years alone. So I mean, there's no way the Knicks are going to trade all 12 of their picks in the next 4 years. You know what I'm saying? There's still going to be guys coming down the pipeline. You still got McBride. You still got Grimes. The Knicks have a lot of young players where they can be able to give up some and still have some. So, I mean, I'm with it.
For sure.
I don't know if I like that.
You don't like LaVine with RJ?
I like LaVine with RJ.
Oh.
But LaVine is better than RJ right now. There's no question about it.
Easy.
It's just, wow, yeah.
And the main reason I like LaVine, as much as he does everything else, we've never had an athlete like him. I think somebody in the chat pointed out Sprewell was probably the last athletic wing that we've had on the Knicks of that caliber. So we have not discussed any media day. We're gonna save that for you. We have not even watched any of the media day, so we're gonna be
gonna watch
live,
it on the show.
You know what I mean? So anybody who check out Queens Court tonight. What time are we doing? 8:30?
8:30.
All right, 8:30 tonight, Queens Court. Check that out. Be ready for that. One last topic I've been holding on to. I don't know how in depth or who's maybe brought it up in the Knicks podcasting world, but I'm gonna talk about it today, and I'm interested to see your point. Again, I haven't seen any media day, so I don't know if the rookies have spoken or not. But this little segment right here is going to be based around the rookies, and same kind of questions. Who do you think has the best opportunity to make it on the floor? And I just want to preference this before we start by saying, this is their window right now. This training camp and these preseason games is their window to make a mark. You know what I mean? Show why that they're gonna be given the opportunity to get minutes, because I think after this window right now, the only thing that's gonna help them get on the floor is something bad happening to where they're needed. Unless they show something, during these next couple of weeks.
Right.
So that being said, who do you think has the most likely chance? You could do it in the order maybe. Who has the most likely chance to see the floor, and why?
Out of the rookies, like the newer guys you talking about?
Yes, Sims and McBride and Grimes.
Queen. I go.
Yeah,
I go.
Mm-hmm.
Miles McBride has to be. When you think about Kemba Walker's injury history and Derrick Rose's injury history, it's got to be Miles McBride getting on the floor, playing together with Emmanuel Quickley. We've seen what those guys did together in the summer league, playing together on the floor. They actually played pretty well together, which surprised me. And I think Miles McBride, with his defense, his ability to be a dog on defense, knock down that mid-range jump shot, I like him getting a lot of minutes this season, or relatively a lot.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He's going to play. I feel like Miles McBride is definitely going to play and be in that rotation.
So he's your most likely.
Absolutely.
Who's next and who's last?
I would say next on the list will probably be Grimes. There's still some things that need to be worked out in the Knicks guard rotation, but I think it'll probably be Grimes, and then Sims. It's like three people ahead of him between Mitch, Noel, Taj, and Sims is on a two-way contract anyway, so he'll be spending some time in the G League anyway. I want to see the kid play. I love Jericho Sims. I think he eats corn like for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That dude that's a big boy. He eats nothing. He is straight up corn fed from the Midwest or something. But I just don't see him having that many minutes. It's going to take a lot of injuries for him to get get on the floor and get some minutes.
I'm gonna tell
Yeah.
you right now,
Mhm.
you wasn't paying attention to the Queen on Sim show.
I was paying attention. I was
All
there.
right, go ahead, take it away, Queen. I know
Um,
what you're gonna say.
yeah, I mean, I think it's gonna be. I would pick in the same order, though. As an aside, I think if anything happens, um, Quick will probably play the point. But um, I think out of those three, yeah, it would be in the same order.
Mm,
McBride. But this is the other thing. Remember this thing about Tibbs, and this is why Quickly got his opportunity. Tibbs wants to win. Like people say he's against rookies. He's not. You just got to be on point. You just got to show him that you can contribute, right? Even in Minnesota, I forget the name, but there was a rookie on that team as well that he played. Was it Okiki or somebody else? I forget the name. Um, but
that's the
he
funny thing.
played
It's
them,
always one with him.
right? And I think McBride has that opportunity as well, because this is another thing I can see, not just injury. I could see Quick not having a great defensive half and not playing the second half, and McBride playing because too many guards are getting into the lane, and he's just getting tired of it, and he's like he may put McBride in. So I think one, two. I think the only time Grimes would get some, if there's an injury to Burke, or someone like that. I think we're sleeping on Grimes, though. I know we talk about McBride a lot, but I really like Grimes as well. And after those first two games in Summer League, he really played well. And I think part of it was getting used to the fact that he wasn't the number one with the ball in his hand all the time. And he had to adjust to that. And once he did, he was really good. So I would say him, but I think it would have to be an injury, though.
Mm,
I wouldn't be surprised in the offseason if they move somebody to give him more time, because Tibbs also pays attention to practice as well, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're taking stats in practice either. Um, and just like Josh said, Sims would be probably the last, only because um, Tibbs would go with Taj over him. Even though Taj is like in his mid to late 30s, he trusts him. Yeah, right, right.
mm, mm.
Though I would like to see Sims. If any of those were, if any of them guys centers missed the game, I would really like to see Sims. But I think Taj would get the call. We would have to have like an injury to two
Wow.
guys, for
Right.
Sims to get
See,
some time.
there go that synergy. I miss a week. I miss a week, and you guys is on the same page. Let me switch it up then, I guess, because I actually I got it reversed from you
Okay.
guys. I got it in the total opposite, and I'm gonna go Sims first.
Wow.
Part of that is because I agree with you. I think Quickly is gonna get the nod before McBride at this point, especially early in the season. I think Quick is gonna get his fair shake, his fair shot at
Right.
playing that point guard position
Mhm.
before McBride gets it. So
Right.
at this point, I feel like he's fourth
Mhm.
on the list. Um, all this is under the assumption as well that I think Villadova's gone, because I think Sims ends up with that spot.
Oh wow.
Um, I think he ends up with that spot. So that being said, Mitch is yet to be cleared. So we don't know if they're gonna be patient with him. We don't know if he's just not healed and ready yet. We don't know when that's going to be. Knock on wood. I hope everything works out with Mitch. I hope he stays healthy. But at this point, with two fractures in one season on different parts of the body, we don't know how his body's going to hold up.
Right.
Um, I actually really do like Sims. So shout out to you,
Me too.
Josh. He was the first
Yes, he
one.
was
He
on
was
it.
the first one that brought him up. You gotta check this kid Sims out.
Yeah.
Salute to you, and then we got him, so that's even doper.
Yeah.
Um, I think I like his poise. He seems like he doesn't get rushed. He plays his game. Um, I don't see him really getting rattled either. And he's like you said, a big, strong guy. You
It's
know what I mean?
hard to
Like
move him out the way.
it's
I
not
watched
gonna
him
be no
summer league
weight
games and like,
issues.
he just big,
Right, right,
strong with the
right,
ball. Like,
right.
oh man, slow as
So
molasses, but it's big.
Yeah,
so this is not a preference. This is just who I think
right.
is most likely to get an opportunity because even though we have two injury prone point guards, or I hate saying that. That's what other people say. But we have two point guards with injury histories. We got quick, waiting in the wing. We've seen Burks play the role. We've seen the offense run through RJ
Mhm,
and
mhm.
Randle. So I think there's so many different dynamics of where um it's going to be tough for McBride to get in the game. And the only thing that I can really see him, like you said, somebody we getting killed on the offensive end, and it was like, all right, get this guy in, let's see what he could do. You know what I mean? And then if he shines, all right, we rocking with him for a little bit now. He earned it. But I think the opportunity wise, I think Sims first. Grimes. I think we're still thin at the two guard position. Granted, I don't see him playing any backup three. So I
Mhm,
think Burks is kind of locked in that role, even though Burks can play the two.
mhm.
Um, but a lot of people aren't mentioning about Grimes is his defense was solid all summer league as
Oh, no
well.
doubt. Mhm.
Like I think that's what actually kept him in the game those first two games where he wasn't really connecting offensively. I think his defense was that good that it kept him in those games. He didn't lose opportunity.
Right,
And he was able to work his way in, into his get rid of that shooting slump. So I'm
right.
I'm looking forward to I think that opened some eyes. It definitely did for me. I think his defense was on par with McBride. You know what I mean? I
Yeah,
could probably argue that maybe better because he's guarding bigger guys. He was guarding threes in
right,
preseason, bigger guys.
right,
So I think that's why I kind of have him over.
right.
If you look at the depth chart, we're just more deep at the point position than we are at the two or the center. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
Taj, he
Mhm,
can get the minutes at center.
mhm.
Um, but I think I think we use Taj later in the season out of necessity more than out of and this is no knock on Taj because he did his thing, he held it down. You know what I mean? Like he gave us good minutes, hard minutes,
Mhm,
full effort all the time. But I think in this, I think we didn't have a guy. You know what I mean? Pell,
mhm.
he got like 2 games opportunity, but he didn't really show much other than getting a dislocated finger and wanting to fight through it. You know what I mean? Salute to that. But I think Sims will get that same opportunity that Pell got when we brought him along and get it earlier. You know, knock on wood. Hopefully, it's not because of injury. So that what I mean. That's why I kind of have it reversed. I think for any one of these guys though, a strong preseason, a strong training camp could change all of that. So this is their opportunity for them to
Right.
find their path.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up a good point too. If they move quick, to point guard, maybe they move Grimes in,
Mm-hmm.
to play his spot. And Burke is playing three. The difference between Burke and Grimes is 1 inch, right? Burke is 6'6", playing the three. Grimes is 6'5". Um, and he's a much at least from what I seen in summer league, though it hasn't happened in the NBA. He seems to be a better defensive player than Burke. So you're right. You're right. You know, they'll both get opportunities throughout the season. It's just, is it going to be consistent minutes? I'm not sure, but they'll get opportunities throughout the season.
I also want to add that I think there's going to be, there's going to, with the Knicks being so deep, so to speak, and a lot of players that the fans want to see. I think that's a better term instead of saying deep. There's a chance that we might not see some of these players, or some of the players that we're looking forward to seeing might not get any time. I mean, that's how it was last season, and people are looking at Kevin Knox as like this afterthought. But I know he was a player that we wanted to look forward to. We were looking forward to watching last season, but he didn't get any time at all. And I don't think it was just from the fact that he wasn't producing, but the Knicks just really didn't really have a place for him in the rotation. Tibbs really didn't have a place for him. So there might be a couple of guys, we don't know who that's going to be. I mean, you can probably say it's going to be Knox because that's what he was doing last season and didn't really play that much. But Grimes, McBride, Vildoza, a lot of these guys we're not going to see. So preseason might be our only glimpse of watching these players.
That's their opportunity.
That's their opportunity. You're right. And shout out to Canal Band Lawyer. He makes a good point. If the Knicks do make a trade and some of those guys have to go, then yeah, Grimes may move up into the rotation depending on who we get back.
I agree. What I missed last week? I know you had Chris on Queen's Court. Did you do anything, Josh, last week?
No, last week I took a week off. Yep.
Yeah, right. I mean, I think we just we just kind of went through a lot of the topics that we had already talked about as a season preview, right? We talked about Mitch, we talked about Fournier, we talked about Kemba Rose, and that pretty much same question came up on Queen's Court as well. Which rookie do we think would be the first to crack the rotation? So that was pretty much it. And I think the week after next week we may also have another all-female panel. I'm okay with it now. Whether it's all female, whether it's mixed, I'm good. But it looks like we may have that.
That's dope. I'm looking forward to that ladies' night. Night.
Yeah, right.
Sit back and watch and enjoy
it. Yeah.
And get get some of y'all perspectives. You got anything coming up, Josh?
Yeah, so this Wednesday, trying to get an episode with Evergreen. We're going to discuss his wild take that the Knicks are going to be NBA champions this season. I don't think we're there yet, but we're going to discuss that. Also discuss some teams in the Eastern Conference who he thinks the Knicks are going to be better than. And we're going to debate those issues a little bit. We're looking to try to do Wednesday. If not Wednesday, stay tuned for later in the week or even this weekend. But I will get a controversy episode out this week. I promise that will happen. Also, I got an episode coming up with Mark. We're going to debate some things, debate some topics surrounding Julius Randle. And you know how Mark can get. He really doesn't like Julius Randle so much. So
that's going to
stay tuned.
Awesome. That's going to be awesome.
Stay tuned for that, guys.
Yeah. And I would say on tonight's show at 8:30, as we talked about, we're going to actually be playing the those interviews, the media day interviews, and then asking questions. There's some interesting things, so I'm really interested in hearing you guys' opinion on it.
Yeah, I can't wait. Josh, I asked Josh if he watched it. He said he didn't. I was gonna watch it after this, and then he's like, "Oh no, the Queen's gonna put them on." I'm like, "All right, we all watch it together in real time."
Yeah.
So that's dope. I'm definitely looking forward to that. I'm working on something special for you guys. So just hopefully it'll be Wednesday or Thursday of this week. And that's in addition to my my episodes. I'm not gonna tell you who I got on until it's official, but I'm working on some stuff behind the scenes. So look out for that. New episode on Wednesday. Queen's Court tonight. We're gonna get the triple headers going again.
Yeah. Is that gonna be a double header on Wednesday?
If
you and Josh?
If all goes well. Well, absolutely. We will synchronize the times. But I might have a double header myself on Wednesday, so it might still end up being a triple header. So we putting in that work. I gotta make up for that week I missed. You know what I mean? So,
you definitely was missed though. But we held it down as best we could without you.
I appreciate it. I appreciate. Oh, you was gone too, John?
Yeah, I was gone.
Well, I definitely appreciate you. We got about 40 minutes to Queen's Court. I'm gonna get me a drink and something to eat and prepare for that. Thank you guys for joining again. Salute to the panel. Salute to the chat. Yo, Black is time. I'll see y'all Wednesday. Peace.